Welcome back to the channel. Well, some things just seem too good to be true, and I have to admit I had some suspicions about AuthentiKit when I first heard about them. I mean, who would offer free plans, parts sourcing, and detailed instructions to build do-it-yourself home flight simulation hardware for free? Well, that's exactly what AuthentiKit has been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. Initially offering controls for warbird aircraft, they've now started offering kits to build controls for civilian aircraft. For their first offering, they've developed a throttle quadrant for the popular A2A Comanche 250 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I have to say the design lives up to their name as it is very authentic to the original Comanche 250, probably due to the fact that A2A shared their CAD files with them to help them make it accurate in form, layout, and scale to the actual Comanche 250. Now, I have a special affinity for the Comanche because my brother-in-law owns one, and for a plane of this vintage, almost 50 years old, it can still hold its own against the most modern light aircraft, including the likes of Cirrus, and at a fraction of the cost. In this short video, I'm going to talk about my experience building the TPM from AuthentiKit and also about the quality of the kit that was provided. Finally, I'm going to take it for a test spin and tell you my impressions of it as a pilot flying and how it compares to the Comanche 250 in real life. When Phil at AuthentiKits offered to send me a Comanche 250 throttle prop mixture control to build the kit, I was a little reluctant because I was on my way preparing to go to Oshkosh for the EAA fly-in and didn't know if I would have time to do it. But I reluctantly said yes, and I'm glad I did. The result of my effort is this very attractive and sleek TPM you see mounted under the tabletop. I guess it would be more accurately called a parking brake MTP because it is laid out in the configuration of the Comanche with a mixture on the left, throttle in the center, prop control on the right. To test it, I've mounted it in my VR sim with the CLS60 force feedback yoke, which I do love, and to the right of the AuthentiKit, a homemade gear and flaps that I've created and a Gear Falcon trim wheel. One of the cool things about AuthentiKits is their expandability. And lest you think this is too simple a design, take a look at this expansion that's planned for this unit and already being developed. An additional component on the left giving you a realistic key and starter button, as in the real Comanche. The authentic under-mounted gear control with a simple toggle switch and two lights, as in the actual aircraft. I'll explain shortly why the innovative AuthentiKit's design is easily expandable at minimal cost. So let's talk a little bit about this kit that was provided to me to build this unit. AuthentiKit does not actually make anything. They're a community project which develops the plans and designs and instructions for constructing. But they have a relationship with a company called Simulation Kit Supplies, and they do provide the kits, and that's what I was provided. I have to say the kit was very complete, well packaged, and I believe much cheaper than trying to buy the parts separately. When you need a very small quantity of things, it's very expensive to buy just one or two. All the 3D parts are included in the kit I had too. Now, if you have a 3D printer, you can do them yourself, but these were very high quality parts. I haven't seen anything off of my printer would come close. Mine looks more like the left there, the Prissa, and the SKS builds really nice 3D printed parts. So I would suggest, plus, if you need one red knob, you have to buy a whole spool of red PLA. Or if you need the blue knob, you have to buy blue. And it's just not cost effective to try to do it yourself. The kit also included a very high quality Leo Bodnar game controller and virtually every part you need. In fact, even extra screws. When I was done, I had screws left over, and that's nothing irks me more than building something that I buy and I end up short 2 or 3 screws, either from losing them or whatever. So they had spares included. The kit was excellent. My only complaint would be that the hardware comes in a big bag. A lot of the screws are different sizes, but they're very close. and it was somewhat difficult. I had to spend quite a lot of time sorting them out, trying to figure out what went where and which screw was an 8 millimeter and which was a 6 millimeter. Maybe because I think more in the English measurement system, but still, it would be nice if there was a sheet maybe with full scale pictures of the profiles of the different screws and a way to help identify them and organize them more easily. I was afraid I was going to use the wrong screw at first in some of the places. All in all, I'd have to say that the design and the instructions are brilliant. Very sturdy design. There's no soldering or special tools required. In fact, the screwdrivers are even included in the kit if you buy the complete kit. You really only need a pair of scissors in addition to the tools that are included. The directions, both video and written, are excellent. One innovative feature is the universal hub. They've located the CPU, the Bodnar board, outside the actual control, and it is connected via an Ethernet cable to the individual controls. So when you make additions, you just make connections in the instrument. Then the Ethernet cable carries the signals to the Bodnar board, which is in turn connected with a single USB to your computer. Really simplifies the hookup. This modularity allows you to use the full capacity of your game controller board and makes adding additional components quite easy. So let's take a short flight around New York City and see this hardware in operation. Now I'm going to fly my favorite way in VR using my Meta Quest headset and using SimVR to open up a mixed reality opening to see the controls while I'm in VR. The first thing I noticed about this unit was the firm and very realistic resistance of the controls. When you pull and push, you feel like you're pushing a cable. It really does feel realistic. The diameter of the shafts are about 1/4 of an inch, and they're very sturdy and solid feeling. While it's not a true veneer control, the push buttons on the end of the throttle and prop are just ornamental. It does have a very realistic feel and one of the best push-pull throttles that I've tried. The knobs on all 3 axes are interchangeable, so you can arrange the order however you like. There's also another handle provided to make one of the axes into a carburetor heat, if that's desired. The Hall effect sensors provide high resolution and should give you years of service compared to potentiometers. In the past, I've questioned the durability of 3D printed products, especially those made with PLA, filament, but having put this thing together and seen how it's built inside, I'm pretty confident in the construction of this unit. So if you're going to fly the A2A Comanche in Flight Simulator, this is really the best throttle unit that you could use. Everything's laid out exactly like the real thing. If you're in VR without mixed reality, it really is nice to have everything correspond to what you see in the sim when you're reaching without being able to see. I think all the AuthentiKit products are laid out with that in mind. Before I start talking about the build process, I would like to say that this Comanche from A2A is one of the finest light aircraft that I've flown in Microsoft Flight Simulator. The modeling is beautiful and it's very accurate to the real aircraft. Hoping they're going to produce some other aircraft of equal quality to add to the Microsoft community. So about the build process. As I said, I was getting ready to go to Oshkosh and I was hoping to have this review done before I left. So I felt a certain amount of pressure to get this done. I already mentioned there were excellent instructions and a full video on every step of constructing this thing. During that video, Phil, the AuthentiKit founder, said that it would take about an hour for the normal construction process. My first clue that that might not be entirely accurate is when I noticed that the video showing me how to do it took 1 hour and 28 minutes. And after building the first of the 3 axes, which was a fairly long procedure, the video said repeat for the other 2 axes, not adding anything to the length of the video. Now I watched the video all the way through before I started, and I would suggest you do that too. But it did add to the process, and when I was all done, it took me about 4.5 hours of time to do the full construction. Full kit from SimKit Supplies is about 135 pounds or $173 equivalent in US. So I would watch the video before I order to make sure you know what you're getting into. This isn't a complicated thing to do, but there's a lot of steps involved, and some of the work is a little fine and tedious. To avoid soldering, he uses small ferrules or little tubes of brass that you slide the wires into and then crush, as he calls it, into crevices in the 3D printed parts so that they crimp together and make a connection. I wasn't completely confident in this process and was very happy when it was concluded at the end when I tested the unit and it worked well. I have to admit I was tempted to get my multimeter out and test those connections, but instead I followed the instructions and kept my fingers crossed, and I was rewarded at the end with a fully functional unit. Building this project isn't as simple as putting together a chair from IKEA. The directions do have words here, and you need to follow the instructions fairly carefully. It requires a certain amount of attention to detail, but the detail is there. He's done a wonderful job putting the instructions together, and if you buy the kit, all the parts are there. It can be a very rewarding process, and if I had had more time, I think I would have enjoyed it more. It is a great weekend day project when you have nothing else to do. And in the end, you get a very high quality Throttle Quadrant, and if you're a Comanche fan, it's the perfect throttle for you. I'm sure there's many people out there who would prefer just to buy the unit already constructed and not go through the building process. Unfortunately, that's not an option now. It would also be nice if there was a distributor in the North American market to make ordering over here faster. So let me try to give you the bottom line. First of all, the throttle itself is wonderful. The feel is good. It's a nice design, very accurate to the aircraft. There's the flexibility to change the knobs to use it for other aircraft if you'd like. Its modularity with the universal hub. It minimizes the number of USB connections you have and allows you to add other AuthentiKit peripherals or expand this unit. As far as the kit parts, again, wonderful. Good quality Hall effects sensors, that board from Bonar that I've mentioned before. The 3D parts were some of the best I've ever seen printed. Very smooth and nice. And they even include some of the tools that are required, so you really don't need any special tools at all to build this. I think they say a ruler and a set of scissors to cut wires. And finally, the construction. It was a little more difficult than I expected it to be. However, it's not something that anyone can't manage. You shouldn't try to do it while you're watching a football game. On the other hand, if you pay attention to the details, you should be able to do this with just average skills. The tutorials are among the best I've seen for constructing a project like this, with written and video. All in all, I'm impressed by AuthentiKit. I love community freeware projects like this, and it's obviously a labor of love for Phil and his crew. Go to their website, which I'll link below, and I urge you to join their community and check out their Discord server. Guys, this is really professional quality work they're doing here, and it's freeware, so let's support them any way we can. I know I plan to purchase the add-on units for this just as soon as they're available. It really is an exciting time to be involved in this flight simulation hobby. Besides that wonderful throttle quadrant from AuthentiKit, also in this video featured the FlightSim.com CLS60 force feedback yoke. Also mixed reality using the Quest 3, made possible with the SimXR software, the awesome A2A Comanche 250, and finally the beautiful Microsoft Flight Simulator World. If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. I love your comments. Please let me know what you think of this. If anyone's built one of these units from scratch, doing all the printing and sourcing of the parts, I'd love to know about that. If anyone else has built one, I'd be interested in how long it took you. Don't make me feel too bad telling me you did it in an hour. I will give you the disclaimer that I'm 72 years old, so if you beat me, I wouldn't feel too proud. A special thanks to Phil at AuthentiKit for providing this kit for me to build free of charge and for the freedom to give my honest opinion without any restrictions. Definitely going to be a customer in the future. Hope to see you on my next video. Thanks for watching.